Now, here's Tom O'Brien.
Hi, folks. Basil Chapman here, and this is, I'm sitting in for Tom O'Brien, and it's my pleasure to be here. Tom is at the Gold Show, and the Gold Show is in New York at the Marriott. This is the second day. There'll be 3 days there. So go and see him. You know, Timing the Trade. He's just got this brand new book out called The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System. Tom O'Brien, founder, owner, and CEO of TFNN. It's a fabulous book. Great addition to your library. And we are looking at a very interesting session today because very quietly, this is the most hated bull market we've seen in years, decades maybe. Up over 6,000 points from the low, and people are still questioning what's going on. Let's go through the market here, but I do want to tell you a couple of things before I say anything about the market. One is, here at TFNN, we have some fabulous shows. We have, starting at 9 o'clock, you got Dave White. You've got at 10 o'clock, Bud Rolfe's Opening Ground, and Dave is called the Power Trading Hour. I come on the Tiger Technicians Hour, Basil Chapman, at 11 o'clock till noon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then you have on a Monday after me, you have Larry Pesavento, and on a Wednesday you have Larry Pesavento, and he comes on Thursday at 11 o'clock till noontime. And you've got Nico DeHaan Friday, Living a Primal Lifestyle. On Tuesday, that's today, you've got an incredibly full day, and that day starts off with Dave White, Bud Rolfe's, myself, and then we go to Steve Rhodes, and Steve Rhodes has the Trader's Edge. Also a really fascinating show because he gets into the mind of traders. Just a fabulous show. Then comes Don Kaufman, Options Hour from Think or Swim. Also, looking at options, using options in a far superior way than just blindly just going for a call or a put. Very clever way of looking at these things. And then, of course, as you heard just an hour ago, Ken Shreve, fabulous program, Breakout Investing with Ken Shreve, Tuesday and Thursday, 3 o'clock till 4. A full program that every day, 4 o'clock till 6, you get Tom O'Brien. Today, I'm sitting in for Tom O'Brien again. Now, I need to go straight to the market. What we're looking at here is a market that has climbed very steadily from the recent low. The Dow is at 12,760. Up 75. The S&P is up 10 at 1357. The comp index is up at 2871, up 28. The consumer, the cry, that's the cry. That is the index. That is the Reuters Jefferies CRB index has had a very nice bounce with some of the other commodities. So let's go to those commodities, and you're looking at gold. The GLD is up 41 cents at 147.79. Gold itself is up 12 at 15.16. Silver is up 1.3 at 38.45. Bonds were down sharply. The TLT, in fact, bonds were down 19 seconds, and the TLT made in the Chapman wave. We look at peaks and troughs. We count each successively higher peak. You go to peak D, the fourth highest peak from the low bar. In this particular instance, the TLT was at a low on the 11th of April at 89.65. It made 4 successively higher peaks just above the 200-period moving average, and then it went to 95.63 on the 5th. That's the fourth highest peak. Now you're getting one of your sharpest pullbacks, and it's testing this 200-period moving average. If it pulls back sharply, and the stochastic's at 85%, so it's going to be a very sharp move if it pulls back, because that stochastic would have to go under 80%. We are looking at the 93.63 as the really big support. Now, the weekly chart has improved technically, although the stochastic's gone back under 80%. It did make a leg C. It continues that leg C if it can go above 95.63 this week. But, and I'll try to get into it a little later on because I want to look at the bonds. I want to look at the TLT. I want to look at the VIX as well, the VIX. I'm going to show a chart, a much longer-term chart, and that longer-term chart has us going all the way back to, I'm going to squash this. So those of you in the den, folks, the den is just a fantastic medium. The charts that I'm showing now, which are very unusual, that you, after my show from 11 o'clock till 12 that you can actually see these charts in the afternoon. This shows the volatility index having the same Chapman wave peaks that I always talk about. Make the most important one, peak D at 89.53 was October of 2008. You remember October? That was an incredible period in the market. But look at the narrow trading range between basically 18 and 14, somewhere around 14. It could go lower, but even go to 9. But when it is stuck in this lower range, that becomes really powerful. It's the opposite of what you hear always. But when the volatility index becomes benign, I hate to use that word benign because we know how quickly a volatility index can move. But when it's in this range and it's moving down, which it seems to be doing it right this moment based on the stochastic and the MACD, it can allow the market to move quite a bit higher. So now, I think I've covered some of what I want. Oh, I haven't done oil. Oil is CLM, and we're going to go to our first call in a moment. Crude oil is trying to bounce back. Crude oil is at 103.42. The real level for crude oil, that's June, has to break 105.40 to 106.72 for this to be more than a bounce after a waterfall decline. I think I needed just to go back to gold because there was a question in the den about the gold. Yes, the gold has closed above the 9-period moving average for the second session. That to me is very important. And look at this weekly chart. This weekly chart says it is holding above the 9-period moving average. The stochastic still at 88%. The MACD is still positive. So until gold, the GLD, which trades at 1/10 the price of gold, breaks and closes under 142, I have to say that it is maintaining support on that 9-period moving average, which 144.65 at this particular point is that support. It's just hard to believe. Oh, it squashed this chart. Let me open it up. The chart here on the GLD monthly, leg E. I'll go into it a little bit more about these peaks and troughs. But first I want to go to Gary in Orlando. Hi, Gary. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Basil?
Very well, thank you.
I'm calling about Ford and just trying to do your work a little, or trying to get close to comprehending it. And looking at it looks like 315 date.
Yep.
When it went to,
350.
75.
Okay, 350. Okay. Let me just tell the folks what we're looking at. Folks, we've got Ford Motor Company up. You all know who Ford is. Ford, F is the symbol. It closed at 15.16, up 8 cents. Now, the question that Gary is asking is, how do I count the peaks? I think that's the question. And the low bar cannot also be the high bar except for the Chapman wave instant restart. Now, I know that sounds very complicated, but in fact, in my CD introducing the Chapman wave methodology, there is a chapter on the instant restart, and I discuss it in very specific terms. And that is something very special. This is a glossary goes through it. But what I will explain right now is that when you are looking for the lowest low bar to actually start a wave count, that wave count needs to make a higher bar before you can actually call it a low bar. In other words, it isn't a turnaround bar. The bar of the 15th has a high, a low that goes down to 1375, but the high is at 14.80 above everything else on the left side. So until it makes a higher low, and that's a simple, these folks, it's so hard to actually talk about these things because my mind just my eyes glaze over. But the simplicity of it is that if you move your pointer from the left to the right and you're on the bar that makes a low, it isn't a low bar turnaround until it has a higher low the next bar, whether it's a 1-minute chart or a 1-month chart. So the actual buy signal can only start on the 16th because it had a low of 14.18. Then I call the peak A, and that's, I think your question is, where's peak A? Peak A, in fact, is, that is wrong. That shouldn't even be there. Whoops. Peak A is right there on the 21st at 14.72. Peak B, a higher high, is 15.20 on the 25th. Peak C is 15.98. Then, instead of making the left time sequence to the right time sequence matched to the 16.51 high back on the 11th of February, it failed and it pulled back right to where? To the 200 period. Oh, I love these things. To the 200 period moving average support. It held that support. The 200 period smooth moving average, folks, that's the green line, crosses positively. The 200 period moving average acts as support, and it bounces up and it makes one more spike, and that gives you your leg D and a peak D on the 26th of April. Is that clear?
Yes. Okay.
So now what we've got...
What are we doing now?
And now we've got... No, that's a great question, because, you know, for subscribers, I had a very specific trade on Ford today, which we didn't get because I only wanted it under specific conditions. So what's happened is this little blip to the upside on the 6th. That's what I call a gray A. In other words, it is the start of a move, but I will not know until it makes a new high above that 16.18 whether or not it is a full buy mode. You can actually get a full buy mode, but technically this is now retracement failure mode. That's just an explanation. It isn't a negative, because if Ford in the next 3 days goes above 1537 without taking out 1488, the low of the 5th, that starts leg B. But the stochastic is not yet quite ready. I want to look at the 120-minute chart. The 120-minute chart is attempting to go there, but it is just not able to do it just yet. The 120-minute chart actually gave a fabulous left side, right side price time move. So your question really is not only what is the Chapman wave notation, is it good to get into?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to say to you, right at this moment, I would like evidence that it can break into the wick of the bar of the 6th of May. If it can do that and hold, I would probably say, okay, I've missed the best entry, but I needed confirmation that it's not going to make that pattern that I call the dreaded H by failing here. The other thing, so that's number one. I would buy it on strength, not weakness. And number two is, if it is weak, it needs to hold the candle of yesterday, 1502. I would have preferred if it closed above the 9-period moving average of 1521. So I'm still hesitant because I think Ford is in a sideways trading range at this particular point. So my answer to you is, I'd buy strength. I wouldn't buy weakness on Ford. Hope that helps you. Thank you, Gary. Gary in Orlando. We'll be back with Rick in Orlando straight after this. Basil Chapman sitting in for Tom O'Brien. Dow is up 75, S&P up 10. I'll be right back at 877-927-6648.